Hey everyone, this is Michael T here from One Goal Houston. Today I am going to do some SAT math without a calculator. Remember that pretty much every single math problem on the SAT can be solved without a calculator. It's really only helpful for a handful of questions. Everything else comes up here. And let's go ahead and get started. First of all, I want to say that I'm using a resource by Kaplan. It's called the New SAT Challenge. But there are several practice problems that you could find and other free resources like College Board and Khan Academy, in which you are going to have more SAT practice than you could possibly ask for. And I recommend checking out those resources. So the SAT no calculator portion is definitely longer than 13 minutes and 10 questions. This is simply like a taste of it. This first page, this information page with instructions, formulas, as well as helpful information, you don't actually need to memorize any of this, but you definitely need to know how to use it, and you're actually going to see some of these problems show up. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So question number 1, 2, 3, and 4 are actually pretty easy. Normally, the way the SAT is structured is that you're going to have easier problems that compose the first third of the problem set, and then it's going to transition into medium difficulty problems, and then it's going to hit you with those difficult questions towards the end when your stamina is already probably a little bit worn down. But the good news is we have a little bit of a warm-up that we could use. So question number 1 is very short, first of all, in terms of the question itself. Just know that every single SAT math problem is also a reading comprehension problem. So the less reading that you have to do here, probably the more math and computation you're going to have to do down here. Similarly with question number 4, there's a lot of reading going on, but there's actually probably fewer computation steps that you have to do later on. So again, question number 1, a little bit of reading. Basically, it's asking what is the value of n. So n equals what? And you are given this formula to work off of. So 3n plus 4 minus 8 over 5 equals 11 minus 6 minus 2n over 2. Also, really quickly, if you don't have a pen or paper on hand, I definitely recommend doing that. It is not helpful to simply watch someone work out these problems. You actually have to give it a try and do it yourself. So definitely having pen and paper at hand is going to be important. Also, feel free to pause this video, because if you feel like you want to try the next step, then try the next step, right? And I'll give you guys opportunities to do that as well. So we're asked what is the value of n, and we are given this formula. So I want to ask you guys, why does this look so ugly, right? What is going on here? Why does this look a little intimidating? Well, part of the reason is because of these fractions. And not only are they fractions, they're fractions with denominators that are different from one another. Remember that the numerator is going to be the top portion, while the denominator is going to be the bottom portion. And now we have two denominators that are not the same. So we have to get them to a denominator that's the same. So the least common multiple of 5 and 2 is going to be 10. This is where number sense is going to be really helpful. So if you don't feel like you're strong with your multiplication table, make sure that you are coming in with those skills because you want as few learning gaps as possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to do something called cross multiply. Essentially, this is a shortcut for saying, hey, we're going to find the common denominator, and then we're going to simplify this so that we're no longer looking at a fraction. Okay, so basically this would be a over 5 equals b over 2, and we're saying, hey, we want this to be something over 10 equals something over 10, right? So how are we going to get there? Well, we have to multiply 2 times a and 5 times b to get there. And then also, if we get rid of these 10s by multiplying 10 on both sides, we end up with basically saying, hey, let's multiply this side by 2. And hey, let's multiply this side by 5. Okay, so that's what we're doing when we're doing the cross multiplication step. So that's just a simple shortcut. What I'm going to do now is kind of use some brackets to help us distinguish what we're looking at. So 2 times 3n plus 4 minus 8 brackets equals 5 times 11 minus 6 minus 2n close brackets. So if you guys remember PEMDAS, probably from middle school, maybe it came back up later on in high school, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. This is going to be our order of operations. Right now I don't see any exponents, but I definitely see some parentheses and brackets that we could start to break down. Again, this just gives us a guide on what mathematical operations to do first. So what I'm going to do is, well, this is starting to look a little bit better than what we had, but there's still a lot going on. So I'm going to start distributing out some of this stuff. Okay, this is the tricky part over here. So we have minus parentheses 6 minus 2n. Conceptually, we have to realize that that's actually plus a negative 1, so we're going to distribute the negative 1 out. Okay, starting to look a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and scroll on down. I see some things that we could condense and combine together. I see other things that we still need to distribute out. So let me go ahead and do that combination piece first. Plus 4 is equal to 5 times 5 plus 2n. Okay. Now we could go ahead and distribute out on both sides. So we have 6n plus 8 is equal to 25 plus 10n. So we've done most of the heavy lifting. Again, just to remind us, we are looking for the value of n. So it looks like we are almost there. We have some coefficients in front of them, and we definitely want to get them all on one side. So let's go ahead and do that. So 8 minus 25 is equal to 10n minus 6n, which is going to be 4n. 8 minus 25 is going to be negative 17, is equal to 4n. Divide by 4. So n is equal to negative 17 over 4. And it looks like our correct answer is going to be answer choice B. Okay. So conceptually, not too difficult of a problem. You just have to know a handful of things like, hey, step 1, I'm dealing with fractions. Let me get rid of those fractions. And then step 2, let me go ahead and use PEMDAS to help solve for this. And then finally, step 3, we arrive to our solution. I'm going to do one more practice problem on this video. We are going to do practice problem number 2. It is actually a very simple problem. It should only take you about 5 seconds to solve it. I recommend pausing the video now and looking over problem 2 and see if you could try to solve it in those 5 seconds. Alright, the Explorer moment over. Now we are going to actually solve it. So it says the following figure shows the graph of function of x from x equals negative 6 all the way to x equals 6. If f of 3 is equal to a, what is f of a? So we have f of x. We are told that f of 3 is equal to a, and we're asked to solve for f of a. And you're probably thinking, WTF, right? What the heck is going on with all these f's, all right? But joking aside, we're actually given a pretty big hint right here. It says f of x is the function that we're given, right? And then we're told f of 3 is equal to a. So let's take a little ride on the roller coaster. We have our y-axis and we have our x-axis. We go up and down the roller coaster, right? And we're going to use x to kind of ground us in terms of our positionality. So when x equals 0, for example, we are going to be up here at y equals 3, positive 3. versus like when x is equal to, let's say, -4, we're going to be down here at y equals -3. Okay, so it's super important. I know I used the roller coaster analogy as kind of like a joke, but it's actually helpful to kind of visualize this as where you are on the roller coaster. Excuse me, I have my dogs barking in the background. So if f of 3 is equal to a, basically this is telling me, hey, when x is equal to 3, f of 3 is equal to a. So let's actually do that. So if we're at the origin and we're trying to get to x equals 3, are we going up? Are we going to the right? Are we going down? Or are we going to the left? Well, x equals 3 is going to be over here, right? Now, x equals 3, where are we on our roller coaster? We're actually going to be at f of x is equal to -5. That was probably the first 1 or 2 seconds of trying to solve this problem, right? First second just reading through it, the second realizing, hey, this is what's going on when it's saying f of something or f of x, and then also like plotting that out. So now we say a is equal to -5. Well, what's f of a? So f of -5 is the same thing as saying f of a. So now let's go back to our roller coaster. If we are trying to find -5, we're actually going to go to the left 5 places. And where we are on the roller coaster, f of -5 is going to give us +2. So the correct answer is D. All right. So hopefully that helped you with these 2 problems. You'll notice that the first problem was a little bit more involved in terms of computation. The second problem was a little bit more involved in terms of comprehension, just understanding what we were looking at. The second problem was actually super quick to solve. You could probably solve this in about 5 seconds, while the first problem, while it was easy, is going to take a little bit more time. Remember, as the test goes on, we start to go from these easier problems to medium problems to more difficult problems. And right now, you might be sitting pretty with a bunch of easy problems already solved, right? You guys took your PSAT back in October, and then I believe you guys took the official SAT back in December. And in terms of those easy, medium, and hard problems, you might have been getting quite a few of the easy questions right. You might have been getting some of the medium questions right. And then you might have been able to guess, or maybe you were able to actually work it out and get some of those hard questions right. Remember, for every question you get right, this is going to add to about 10 more points on your SAT. Okay? So if you were trying to grow your score by about 50 points on the math section, you really need to get about 5 more questions correct than you did before to gain those 50 points. So again, some of you guys might be doing well in terms of the easy problems. Next video, we're going to tackle some of those medium difficulty and more challenging problems.